Hey guys, sorry. You probably can't tell too much, but I am in a different location because I am doing some schooling / classes or a class for my work. And I get a certain certification if I pass a test at the end of the week. So fingers crossed if you regardless of if you're religious or not, please pray for me or just keep me in your thoughts, because hopefully I pass the test on Friday, and if I don't, I'll let you guys know. But I hope that I do. Anyways, kind of related to my job certification and stuff, I was thinking about something that I've always had trouble with, and I want to make a separate video from this, and that's becoming a yes person, because I think a lot of people have said this in the comments recently, is oh, Emily, you're so basically you just do what you want and all this stuff. That's not really true, because from the majority of my life I've kind of done what other people wanted me to do rather than what I wanted to do, and even felt guilty for things that I may have promised initially, but then when I found out later on that the other individual or whatever it is wasn't really following through on their end of the deal, I felt guilty for trying to get out of it, and so oftentimes I would just kind of suck it up and deal with it. And I guess where I'm getting at is kind of knowing when to quit, especially when you're a people pleaser, because I think for people like my sister, which I've talked about her before, she's an ISTJ, and if this is your first video, I'm an INFJ. Even if you don't know Myers-Briggs stuff, basically my sister is very assertive and tenacious, and she never really has had that issue. She since she was a baby, she's kind of always done what she's wanted to do. And sometimes it got her in trouble when she was younger, but as she got older, she was able to balance it. And it wasn't as, I don't know what the word is at the moment. But she was able to come to a spot where she was doing it in a polite manner rather than just kind of being a little abrasive about it. Whereas for me, I kind of have always wanted to be I was always the teacher's pet in school. I always did what my parents told me. I was super obedient, and I didn't really rebel ever until I got older. But even at that, I don't think most people would see it as rebelling. So I have always admired my sister for those qualities, because it's just something that doesn't come naturally to me. And the idea of giving up on something, I'm not saying that my sister always breaks commitments. That's definitely not what I mean by that. But she was able to figure this out at a young age, that she only says yes to the things that she wants to do or things that would serve her. And if something doesn't serve her, she doesn't feel guilty getting out of it. Whereas for me, I have felt guilty. And I guess one of the latest things, which happened a few months ago, or a couple of months ago, was I was working, I've mentioned this before, but I never have kind of updated this. When I first moved here in South Carolina, from Seattle, Washington, I got the job that I'm my full-time job, and I also got a part-time job at a coffee shop. And when I was applying to that coffee shop, I wasn't 100% sure whether or not I would get this full-time job. I was pretty sure, and I let them know that, hey, I'm going to be working full-time, so this is kind of my availability and stuff. And, you know, they did, obviously, they are in the business of having people work for them and stuff. But it got to the point where I would say, you know, I could work on weekends, or, you know, sometimes during the week or whatever. And I was just very, I mean, it was my fault as well, because I was just very, I left things too open. I didn't make it super clear. Like, I didn't make everything super clear. Like, obviously they knew that I was working this full-time job, so I couldn't do anything between the hours of, you know, 8 a.m. to whatever time I get off work. But I didn't specifically say, hey, or I didn't make it, I wasn't direct enough in the sense that, you know, hey, I'm already working 40 hours. I really cannot work more than, say, 15 hours a week. I was just more like, oh yeah, I can, like, work and stuff, and, like, I'm, you know, working full time, but it's okay. And I was just kind of leaving ambiguity for them to take advantage of that. And again, they're a business. So it got to the point where not only was I working on the weekends, but I was working until like 11 or so at night. And something I didn't realize, because before, this was like my first, I guess, private coffee shop that I've worked for, because I worked for Starbucks for almost 3 years. And obviously they're like an international brand, and almost all of like the freestanding Starbucks are company owned Starbucks. So it was a bit different. So when they say your shift is from, let's say, 5 to 11 p.m., your shift is from 5 to 11 p.m. Maybe if you're closing, you may sometimes go over like 15 minutes or something, or maybe a little bit more or less. But you're at least going to work that amount of time. Whereas with this coffee shop, they said 11 p.m. sometimes for the shift, and there would be times that we wouldn't get out until after 12 a.m. And I was working during the day. And so yeah, like on the weekends they would do that, but also during the week I would have to work my job, and then my full-time job, and then basically I would have an hour or 30 minutes to come home, get changed, and then go to that job. And then I wouldn't really know when my shift ended, because even though it says on my schedule, or it said on my schedule 11, that could be 11:30, that could be 12, that could be 12:30, 1 o'clock. And obviously working full time and working another job that was more, well, this is more of a career job, I wanted to focus on this job, and I didn't, I wanted to help them out. I wanted to work the other job, but it got to the point where I would even say to them, hey, look, I can't really do this. I emailed them a few times, and it just got to the point where they weren't really granting any of my requests, and I know they don't have to, but it was just like they were ignoring it and actually doing the opposite. So it took me a long time, and really the help of my mom, to say, hey, you can't do this anymore. You have to, you're tired, you don't get enough sleep, you can't go to work at your full-time job feeling lethargic and all those things, you need to do something about this. And if they aren't going to grant those requests, you're going to have to quit the job. So I ended up having to quit the job, and it's not their fault. And again, I didn't make it super clear of the things that I really needed. And eventually I started being more clear, but it was kind of already too late because I already had that job and they had expectations. They were already losing a lot of people because it was like a transition from summer to fall and stuff like that. So, I don't blame them for granting my request, but at a certain point I had to quit. And I'm so glad that I did quit, even though it's nice to have some extra money. But I found it wasn't even worth it to me, because even though I was making a few $100 more a week or a month or whatever, I didn't have any free time. I really was working every single day, and I didn't have a day off. At the time, it was like I was working, and I know other people have it way worse, like my dad, he's an emergency medicine, and he works 70 to 90 hours a week. But to kind of not really sign up for that, it made things different. And I know a lot of you guys probably are working way more than me, but the point really isn't, the job or the hours that I was working or anything. It's just understanding when to quit, because it was taking so much out of me to work that job, and not even just the hours or whatever. It was taking a physical toll on me, and I felt stressed out, and I even got sick because of it. If you let people or whatever dictate your life, and you don't let yourself quit things, if you don't let yourself get out of things, you're going to be, you're not going to really live your life in the driver's seat. You're going to be having other people drive, and other people control what you do. And sometimes you can't quit a job. Sometimes you have to work that job. Or, for example, there were many times I wanted to drop out of college. I never did, and I'm glad that I didn't, but you have to know when to quit. If something isn't serving you and you have other things lined up, I definitely don't think if you have only one job and you need that to survive, I'm definitely not telling you to quit your job. But if you don't really need whatever it is, if it's causing you way more stress than what it's then it's helping your life, then just get rid of it. Just get out of it. Don't worry about what other people think. I haven't been in that coffee shop since I've quit, or at least, I guess I did go in there to try to find my tips, but I haven't been in there as a customer since, and I haven't really that was for a split second. But I kind of, even to this day, which I know I shouldn't feel this way, is I'm a little bit afraid to go in there, because I'm I promised them this and then I quit. But really, I think anybody that was in my position, and they didn't really need that money, I obviously could do, I really could use more money. And it's not in a greedy sense, but I'm trying to save up. I'm trying to be a financially responsible adult. So it would be great to pay off student loans and stuff like that. But at what cost? It was, again, physically, pushing me to a limit and pushing me to a breaking point. And there's so many things, I know so many people that have been in a similar position. Maybe it's even a club in school or an organization that you took on a task and you just realized, hey, I can't do it. Instead of ignoring it, instead of, you know, pushing yourself when you don't really need to push yourself. I definitely think there's a distinct line between good, positive things for your life and then negative things. And sometimes that can be a little muddled. Like, maybe you don't realize all the time what's positive, what's negative. But if you really, like, even make a pros and cons list and you talk to someone about it. So, for example, I talk to my mom or, like, friends or something. And, you know, don't always go with what those people say, but if you're able to make a pros and cons list and you're able to even give some of that work over to someone else, if that's possible, like if you're in an organization, or if you realize that, hey, this isn't for me and I need to let people know, do that. But yeah, so I don't know, again, I always don't know how helpful these videos are, but hopefully it was helpful. And I don't know what you're dealing with that you want to quit or what isn't serving you, but if it isn't, talk to someone that cares for you and you trust if you need to, or if you just really decide, hey, this isn't for me, try to do it in the most respectful way possible, but don't let people or whatever it is push you around. I mean, in all, I guess in a reasonable sense. So I hope you guys are having a amazing day, and again, hopefully I do well this week. So, all right, bye.